Well, hello there, everyone. A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to traders around the world. I hope you're doing very well. Give me a good to go in the chat. Let me know that the AV is coming in for you nice and loud and clear. And of course, you're getting all of the video and my live stream of my screen. Looks like we are good to go. Let's go, go, go. All right, folks. Well, it's an interesting start to the day. We're deeply oversold. We've made lower lows. We've had some flight paths that we've looked at for the week. And let's just see if we've got something might be going on Discord. Let's see. CJ, you're letting me know something there. So I'm just trying to figure out whether or not all is good. Bear with me for a second here, folks. I'm going to just try to fix something here quick. Now, let's see if that works. It should be up and ready to go. All right. So, folks, thank you again for being here with me today. Looking very much forward to navigating markets here with you, trading markets here with you. Let's get a sense of how the market day is going to start. Our pre-market briefing is really all about the setup into the open. We're probably going to want to gauge the open today because we're deeply oversold, and we got to figure out whether or not it wants to take another leg down. Let's get going. All right. Everything that I do and say here, folks, is for education and insight purposes only. It's not meant as advice. I'm not a registered financial advisor. You must consult yours before making any trading decisions. Trading involves risk, not just reward, risk of loss. Trade with money you can wholly afford to lose. When I trade, it's always in line with my risk trading plan, which is unique to me and might not be suitable to you. Consult your registered financial advisor and get a risk trading plan. Whether I'm discussing past trades taken, doing live trades in front of you, coming up with plans or projections for future potential trades, I'm doing all of that. Whether I'm doing so with respect to a live cash account, demo account, prop trading account, it's all done for education and insight purposes only and in line with my risk trading plan. Consult your registered financial advisor, get a risk trading plan, and trade with money you can wholly afford to lose. Finally, if I poll you in the chat and I give you an average response back to the poll, the sentiment there is not necessarily indicative of the sentiment of the entire group, just those responding. I don't audit the chat, so do take that stuff as anecdotal. Well, a very good morning to everyone writing in. I hope folks are doing very well. It's nice to see such a large crowd here today and looking forward to bringing the week in strong with you. So let's get right into it. So I think the first way that I'm going to start off the conversation over here is by looking at some of the major markets on just a couple of plain clothes charts with levels. And then we're going to move into the technical picture surrounding that. So what you've got on screen right now is the S&P E-minis, the S&P E-minis. And it's a daily candlestick chart, as you can see over there, highlighted by the tab that I'm on. We've come down, broken below the bottom of this week's weekly pivot range, and we've come down very close to what our projection was from earlier in the week. From earlier in the week, there was a projection for where we can likely take where prices are likely going to come down to. Let me just share that with you. Flight path A and flight path B were the areas were the two highest probability ways the week would play out. We have followed flight path B and virtually seen almost perfection to the drop in flight path B. Now, it's a risk-off day, but it's starting off with interesting features surrounding the market. We know it's a risk-off day. We know that we're seeing the S&P E-minis down 0.9% roughly at this stage. When we take a look at the NASDAQ E-minis, it's doing the heavy lifting to the downside, so it's moving down at a faster pace. It's down 1.8% now roughly. As we're approaching the open, we're starting to see more dippy-type action from the NQ at this moment. It's just broken some support structure, so we'll take a look at that. I'm not going to trade in the pre-market right now, but what I want to really focus you in on here is where is the next leg down likely going to open? So I'm just going to zoom in on a couple of structures here. I want you to look at the little gray bars poking out on the left-hand side of the screen over here. And you can see that there's a volume profile node sitting in and around the 29,130 to 29,100-ish area. That's really the next door that would have to open for another major leg down. Now, we're deeply oversold, so in terms of market dynamics, if we start to see bottom-feeding bounces right out of the gates, we could get trapped in a market that tries to struggle bust its way back up, but fails, hits resistance, and comes back down again. You know, throughout this week, you've heard me call out one particular line over and over and over, 29,820. It was a volume profile node. It was a volume point of control going back to the beginning of May. And we submerged below it on the 23rd. We stayed below it on the 24th. We closed below it on the 25th, despite the rally up from a micron. That captured some of that. And then, of course, we're starting below it and continuing lower into the end of the week right now. Getting back above there is the only way that one could really tell that something is changing and we're starting to heal. Otherwise, the risks are still to the downside. The key insight, though, is the door that needs to open for the next leg down is sitting in the lower 29,100s. And it is the NASDAQ that would open that door likely and give us that unravel. It's unlikely going to be led down by the ES. So that's one of the most important insights that I can provide you right off the bat. The other stuff that I can kind of share with you right now is that we've got this interesting market couching. You know, the euro is trying to bounce. It's an oversold bounce, which means the dollar is trying to come down, and gold and silver are in the running for a bounce intraday today. The fact that the euro is bouncing and the fact that gold and silver are responding to it has not been enough. That's gold, for example. It's up about 0.75%. And here's silver. And gold longs above 40.60 can start to make sense on an intraday basis with great care, of course, and very tight risk management. Silver above 58.80, $59 can start to make sense. So I wanted to throw those out there as interesting opportunity areas if the equity market becomes too challenging. Now, also, we've got this interesting move in oil. It's coming down. So you've got the euro up, the dollar down. You've got oil down. You've got gold and silver slightly shining up and starting to respond. But you've got equities led down by the NASDAQ, and that hasn't changed. And that's been very similar all week long. So let's go and take a deeper dive now into the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ is going to be the primary traded vehicle that I trade on the day today. But of course, I will look for opportunities on the ES as well. And what are you seeing on the daily candlestick chart right here of the of the NASDAQ E-minis? Well, we're coming down towards the bottom of the channel. I'm going to zoom into the hard right edge over here. And yesterday we discussed what a kill zone is. Where we've got falling resistance above price, we've got rising support underneath it. We're in a kill zone. Now, the bottom jaw at this stage is the bottom of this three-lined channel. That three-line channel is called the MSR channel. MSR stands for moving support and resistance. What's the value of the bottom of the channel? Lo and behold, it's the same or almost the same number as we evaluated on that plain clothes chart with the volume profile levels on it. It's sitting at 29,100, just a couple of points or a point and a half below there. So it's the door to the next move lower. We have not actually hit it. Right. Yesterday, when you were seeing me kind of leave you with a plan at the end of the session to help trade for the balance of the day, I drew out a plan as, this was the plan that I drew out. And I said, hey, below 29,550, look for 450, but 450 has to be broken in order to open up room down to 29,100. So we are in that range right now. We've already broken 550. We've come down below 450, and we've come down and made lows very close to 29,100. The number that we came down to, I think, was 160 and change, 160 and a half a point. So we're off the low right now, right? We tried to get up and going on the last 4-hour bar from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Eastern time, but that didn't work out very well. We hit resistance, came back down, and we're in a red bar at this moment in time. Let's get a little tighter in on the action. Here's the hourly chart. We're dangling just above lows. We're in a sell signal state across the board from effectively, I think the 1 minute might have changed. It's still in a sell signal state. But effectively from a daily chart all the way down to a 1 minute chart, the math on the signals keeps us on the short side of the trade. But the warning is we're deeply oversold. So if we're looking for the action right out of the gates, which way is it going to go? I'm gonna wait a little bit this morning to see if the oversold bounce really starts to form. And the hard part about the trading day today is going to be if we are in an oversold bounce that has fits and starts, it's not going to be well organized. It's going to be more difficult to trade. It could become a just blast off oversold bounce, just run up, and then we'll have to wait for the trend to kind of form. Or it can be fits and starts, poking hairs up above resistive structures, getting batted back down, and waiting for enough of the bearish positions that are still in play to get off the tape. Now, this is going to be your opportunity to share with me your opinion of the day. Do you think that we are going to open the door to make a move for the next leg down? Do you think that we are going to make that move below 29,100 and open the door to get down into the mid 28,000s? And it's a yes or no question. So feel free to throw your response into the chat. And now, effectively, what that will do is give us it's a sentiment survey, right? So vote your conviction. Let me know what you think. You've got technical signals on chart that are effectively saying, yeah, we're probably going to come down lower. You've got some of the things that tug at the market saying, well, hold up. We're starting to see a transition. It's being borne out in terms of euro bouncing. It's an oversold bounce on the euro. It's depressing the dollar slightly. And we're starting to see a few things like silver and gold start to move up a little bit. So that's more risk on, but it's not enough to overturn the negative sentiment that we're seeing in the NASDAQ overall. So I'm looking through the responses at this stage, and I'm trying to get a sense of what folks are thinking overall. Let's get a good sense of it. And I'm waiting for responses. We've got lots of responses. So from what I'm seeing right now, the response leans to yes, and it is about 85, almost 90% leaning to yes from the responses I'm seeing in the chat. So what does that mean? Well, sentiment surveys work in a very distinct manner. If everyone's on one side or it's very skewed in response, usually the opposite's going to happen. So at this stage, what I can say is we are very skewed to the idea of this whole thing falling apart and the next leg down happening. So all I'm going to do is just state the fact of what I'm seeing from your responses in the chats. And the response effectively is, yeah, we're likely going to come down, but we're very skewed. Which means we've got to keep our mind open to oversold bounces playing out and the market actually, trying to come back up. Okay, so that's the insight at the end of the day. If the message has been received and you get what I'm saying, give me a lucky number 7 in the chat and share that with me. So sentiment survey, very skewed. Okay, so we've got to be prepared for the opposite side, the oversold bounce. Technical signals well aligned on the surface of the price for the markets to go down, down, down. 29,100 is the door or the gateway to a lower lows. It's the bottom of the channel. It's that last support structure that is still not been engaged with perfectly. And I see the number 7's running through the chat. So folks are getting the picture. Okay, perfect. So I'm glad to hear that. Let's get on with it right now. So let's kind of spec out trades right out of the gates. Now I might be a little bit more reserved right out of the gates here. Because I want to see whether or not oversold bounces are going to take place. And I want to see how the market reacts. If we get slammed down right out of the gates and we start making lower lows, well, we know 29,100 is that key area. We are at 29,325, 20-ish at this moment in time. So let's break down the daily chart down into tradable increments. We know that the signal structure says downside risk. We are below the speed lines on the hourly chart. Let's get a handle of what those numbers are, because above the speed lines, we may be in an oversold bounce. We're still going to be rising into falling resistance, but we'll be in an oversold bounce. So 29,350 is where the slow speed line is. Above there, it opens up room to rise up to 29,520. Okay, 350 to 520 would be the long side trading range. Anything below the 350 marker, we have to be careful about shorts, but they are well signaled, and we'll identify whether or not we can take them. But above 350, it's up to 520. Let's now break it down to a 5-minute chart, and 350 might change a little bit here. 350 is what we're approaching as we speak right now, okay? And we know that that's still valid for longs. However, right up here at around the 370 area, we've got resistance. Okay, so getting above 350, sure, for those who are trying long right now, all the power to you. Getting above 370, 375 opens the door more cleanly towards 520. Okay, towards 520. The 1 minute chart has moved into a buy signal state, as you can see. And we are starting to get the first bar out of the gates for cash hours. Let's see how this plays out. Are we going to get slammed down, or is the oversold bounce going to move in? And you're absolutely right, Ravi. We are in a kill zone on the daily chart. We're under falling resistance on almost all time frames with the signals, except for the 1 minute chart. The 5 minute chart's still under sell signals as well. As you can see, that structure is still there. So we're getting whack-a-mole back down from the first bar that is, kind of on the heels of the few bars leading in, few 5 minute bars leading into the open that we're trying to get off the mat, getting whack-a-mole back down. Is it appropriate to hit the short button just yet? No, I'm waiting, right? I think that there's going to be, a lot more clarity after the first couple of 5 minute bars. The first 10 minutes go by and we get a pattern in play. But let's really understand this. And Ken T, a kill zone is when we've got technical structures generated by our indications falling on top of price, and we've got support structures from those same indications coming up underneath price, and it looks like jaws clamping down on price. So that is the case on the daily chart. I'll just flip there very quickly. So you can see the falling resistance, and you can see the rising support. And that makes price prey, and we don't want to be prey. We want to be the predator here. In order to do that, I need to understand, how fast this thing is moving around, to the upside or the downside, above structures of resistance or below structures of support. So the 5 minute chart is the chart I'm trading. I'm waiting right now to see if the rising support underneath is going to hold. And if we bust up above 375, there is a scalpable long above 375. And it could rush pretty quickly. So I'm actually considering it. It would be a very quick trade if I get it. We've not established a strong enough base yet, but we can see from the 1 minute chart, we've been rising from roughly 9:19 a.m. Eastern time. So I'm looking at it. I'm also looking at the interplay between the NASDAQ and the ES on another screen. And I'm seeing the ES and the NASDAQ move well in line with each other, which may open the door for this long side trade. So I'm just going to be patient over here and see if the next little leg is broken above roughly 375. And if you're wondering where that comes from, it is effectively a combination of where the slow speed line is on the hourly chart and on the 5 minute chart. It is where the champion trend resistive structures are and the top of the MSR channel is. And clearly we have not been able to push back up. We've got slammed back down. So this is the nature of a oversold market. It's trying to get off the mat, but it's being whack-a-mole back down. That doesn't mean I'm willing to hit the short button, right? I'm going to wait this out, and I want to see whether or not that downward pressure is organized well enough to take the short. Let's go back to the tradable chart, the 5 minute chart. We are below structures of support. 290, 280 is that area. We're coming down towards the lows. We're still in a deeply oversold state. Where it's more likely if we're going to fall over, it's going to be like falling off a cliff, kind of like what we've seen in days gone by this week. And I don't want to buy the short or hit the short button at the low of the bar. But look, if we're coming down below lows, 29,210, 200-ish, it's going to be hard not to want to participate. Just need to find a pattern that I'm comfortable with. We're definitely in a sell signal on a 1 minute chart and all the way back up to the daily chart right now. So I was very close to saying, hey, oversold bounce might open the door, but we found the number and it was not able to get above it, right? Now it's gotten below the local low at around 9:18 p.m. AM, not PM. For some folks listening in, it might be PM. We've got a wealth signal. It's continuing down. It is deeply oversold, but it's slowing down in its decline right now. And for those who are making decisions right now, I'm still observing. I'm still waiting for something I'm comfortable with. But for those of you that are sitting back wondering what others are doing in the room, this is a moment where for those of you that want to share, you're welcome to do so. Long, short, flat, feel free to type in the letter L, the letter S, or the letter F into the chat, corresponding with your current decision-making or decision-making bias, either or. And of course, I'll be able to provide that response back to you if I get enough. So we're getting responses. So I'll wait for them to kind of settle down, and I'll let you know what the group is effectively saying. I've got a lot of folks out here saying flat to begin with here. All right. A lot of folks out here saying, nope, sitting on my hands, way too whippy right now. So at this stage, we've got that lower low. Okay. Lower low is presented, and it's trying to get up off of that lower low, with potentially that lower low being a positively divergent lower low. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, we can discuss divergences during our trade lesson portion of the morning, which will be from 11 to 11:30. Snapping right back up, almost back up to the 375 marker. It's a very violent rip right back up, and it can very easily get slammed back down on us, right? We're in a market that is very wide in range, very volatile, and very oversold, right? So with the sentiment survey we did in the pre-market, where I asked, hey, do you think that we're going to come down and open the next leg for a major lower low? We were very skewed in our responses to the side of, yes, we're likely to come down and break 29,100. Well, the opportunity was there moments ago. Right? We came within 80 points of it. We didn't break it. So at this moment, let's go see. And Yvonne, absolutely prayers for Venezuela and what's happened over there. Absolutely. Let's see if we, and Simon, it is a chop fest and huge ranges, right? So you have to watch out. You take a one contract on an NQ trade and you're wrong on it, 500 bucks is gone like that. Right. So want to be very, very precise and careful with entries, or one can switch to the micros, which would not be a bad idea. You know, my response is going to be, hey, if I'm not comfortable trading the NQ because of the wide ranges and the jitteriness, I might use the NQ as an indication effectively to trade the ES. Which I can have a little bit more control over. And the ES is looking interesting right now with the NQ. Both are coming up above structures of resistance on a 1-minute chart, or trying to. And if that door opens, we're still rising into falling resistance. It's still a hornet's nest that we're rising into, which makes it it's very challenging. This would be one of the more challenging weeks for traders in general, one of the most actually. And hey to everyone saying hey in the chats there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So we're into the thick of it already. We're just assessing whether or not the market's going to make another big leg down or not. And again, for those who are logging in right now, the NASDAQ on a daily chart, the structure that it would need to break below in order to tell us another big leg down is in front of us, is sitting roughly at 29,100. Right? It hasn't quite engaged with it yet, but it's the bottom of the MSR channel. If that opens up, it opens up room down to the mid 28,000s overall, 28,400, 500. And we know we're coming into the morning with a plan that was coming from yesterday, right? Where we go below the red line, 550, confirm that we can make it below 450, and it opens up all the room down to 29,100. It is below 29,100 where that next big leg down could take place. And we are in a sell signal state across the board, from a daily chart all the way down to a 1-minute chart, effectively. And the 1-minute chart right now is starting to transition. 5-minute chart still in a sell. As we got into the open, I assessed, hey, if we were able to get above roughly 375, 350, and then 375, okay, I might participate in a long. As soon as we got right close to that number, it got whack-a-mole down. So that's the value of having a toolkit ready to go to give you that guide of where better decisions are. Nonetheless, I was not really interested in trading the very beginning of the day. I'm waiting to see how this kind of settles itself out. So on a 1-minute chart right now, we're seeing after the low at 9:34 a.m. Eastern time, we've pushed back up, but we weren't able to surmount the prior high right at the open. And back down we're going. We don't really have data issues to deal with until about 10 a.m., where I think we get the University of Michigan sentiment data out and inflation expectations. And then I think Trump is speaking at 1:30 today. So that's after we're together. But I wanted you to be at least aware of that as you're moving through the trading day. And Mark B, absolutely. I'm happy to discuss volume profile and what a node looks like, what VPOC looks like. Make sure you bring the question up during the 11 to 11:30 a.m. marker, but I'll note it down as something for us to discuss at that time as well. So we can see, the range from 29,350 down to pretty much 29,200 happened in minutes, right? And wild swings within the actual 1 minute bars themselves. So a very challenging, way to start the day. But look, we've made a low, we made lows, and this is a 1 minute chart because this is what's going to be that leading or bleeding edge. Made a low, lower low, lower low. Okay. And now if we make a higher low, it could actually be construed as a bottoming pattern, but I would still need to see some action above 375 to confirm that. If we just fall off the edge over here and come down below the low that just happened at around 9:34 a.m. on that 1 minute bar, we're headed down to 29,100. Right now, I don't know that. Right now, all I know is that we're trying to gather our bearings to potentially bounce, but we're under pervasive sell signals, and it may open the door for shorts if the local low at 934 is taken out. So everyone's still keeping themselves under control, waiting for a better trading opportunity. I hope. Right now, a short can become viable, but we are in an oversold state. We're so oversold that if you look at it on statistical cones and other measures, which I'm not going to bring up on the screen right now, we're so far away from normal that it's more likely that we're going to try, we're going to see the machines out there not be able to sell any further because the value is just not there. We'd have to literally break the cliff line. So right now we're trying to gather our bearings for an oversold bounce again, which could turn this market into a bottoming pattern in the first little bit, and then up we can go. I'm seeing some promise of that, but there's no signal yet, right? When you hear me say almost, or it looks like, or somewhat, these are things that will describe the posture of the market, but it's not a signal or a setup, right? It's leading us into that potentially, but I don't have no signal yet that says up we go. The first thing that I'd need to see to really confirm that is get above 375. And for the ES fans in the room, I have not spent a lot of time sharing insight on the ES here, but I'm just going to do that very quick for you. Let's see if I can get it up on the screen. There it is. So what you've got happening on the ES here, daily chart, we're below the bottom of the daily charts MSR channel. So that's negative, right? It can be a drag. Sell signal stayed on a 4-hour chart, 1-hour chart, 5-minute chart. 1-minute chart is starting to get a little bit more excited. And there is a trade here above 81 to about 90, which I can try. I'm trying it right now. So I'm in. It went profit positive right away, but I'm not really going to rest on that being, being the way it stays. It could easily implode. So I'm in a 1 contract long. It's up a point, roughly. I'm taking that point or 3 ticks of profit on that initial long there. And look, this is just me being opportunistic about the oversold bounce state that I think we're in, right? Even our sentiment survey came back to us this morning, where we asked ourselves within ourselves, for the folks who participated, hey, is it more likely that we're just going to fall off the cliff and come down, break the last leg of support here, that cliff line at 29,100, and unravel? And the response from that sentiment survey for those who participated was very skewed. It's like 90-10 to the answer being yes. And we know that sentiment surveys do what? Well, they do their best work when we're very skewed in response. So if we're extremely bearish, it's usually the other thing that's going to happen. Now, again, I'm going to keep my mind wide open for all sorts of action, but let's go and see. Okay, so we are coming up to that 375 area. The ES is almost, well, it's at 73.85. 73.88 is the next resistance structure. 88.89 is the next resistance structure on the ES on a 5-minute chart. And again, we've come right up to the line and got batted back down. These are very wild ranges. Okay, so now comes the opportunity for this to present as a coil. If it sustains at the center of the 1-minute chart MSR, shoots up above 365, 375, potentially I could try a long at that point. And if I'm not comfortable doing it on the NQ because of such huge ranges, I could use the NASDAQ as the indicator to trade the ES long, because it would be pulling the ES up. So I'm going to wait patiently to see if that materializes. And a warm welcome to everyone joining in right now. See a few more folks have just joined in. So very warm welcome to you there. Okay, so no mid-channel pause. It's fallen right back down again. And are we going to make that higher low here and then try to go back up for it again? So extremely choppy, in a very wide range still. And it's trying to make that higher low and make a run for the resistive structures. Let's go remind you, on a 5-minute chart, we still have resistance at around 375, 29,375, right? The day trade is happening on the 5-minute chart. The 1-minute chart is the trigger chart. The 1-hour chart is the backbone. And the simple comment is, we're not going to be out of a sell signal state on a 1-hour chart until we're all the way up here, right? That's the 29,800-ish area. So all trades to the long side, if they end up becoming the thing that I decide to do, they're going to be low probability. They're going to be low grade trades. But we're in an oversold market. We're trying to make a run up for that area. The 1-minute chart should be in a buy signal state now. At least triple S is there. 365 is the first little inkling that we're going to go higher. 375 is the bigger one. And look, I'm going to probably take the trade on the ES, probably. So I'm going to put the ES up on screen over here. Okay. And what I'm going to do with that effectively is effectively say, hey, I want to use the NASDAQ as an indication to potentially trade the ES. Let's see. And this is a 1-minute chart of the ES. Okay. Let's see if that opportunity presents. And there's going to be, there already has been, there probably will be more. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, and wait. So now I'm waiting. If we take out the high of the last 1-minute bar, I'm going to try a long. So I'm trying it right now. I'm in, fingers on the trigger to get out if it does not cooperate. It's struggling. The NASDAQ itself is struggling to rise as well. I'm not seeing enough on either front, and I'm deciding to take myself out of that trade because I've not crossed the threshold. So I was doing a little test there. I did not see enough follow through on the NQ, and I'm going to show you that right now. So you've got a good view of that yourself. We tried. We didn't get above the top. So I think that what this should demonstrate is, very simply is, hey, look, we're in a sell signal state across the board. 1-minute chart's trying to transition. The transition on the 1-minute chart is not has not happened yet. We've not seen the NASDAQ come up above 29,365, 375 in that area. And if we're going to come down and align with the sell signals on the bigger time frames, the probability of the trade increases, and it's a higher probability to play the short. But we're so oversold that this kind of stuff can happen, like it did at 934, like it did at 941, like it did at 946. Right. So what I'm seeing effectively is like a coiling type action. either we fall off the back end of the boat here or the edge of the cliff. And there's two numbers now. It'll be 29 180 and then 29 100. Those will be the two, fall off a cliff lines. But you can see the rapidly oscillating signals, right? And you can see that we're in a technically damaged environment because the MSR channel here is turned magenta. And there it is, right? So we are making slightly higher lows. This is a coiling like pattern. And what does a coil usually resolve to? An even more expansive move when it breaks above or below. Not that we have a small range day to begin with already. It is still a wide range day. Exactly, Jimmy. That's the whole thing of the coil, right? You've got like falling highs, rising lows, and you're getting all squeezed in, and it becomes a very, very challenging. And Jason, this has been one of the most challenging trading weeks, right? It's not in recent history actually, because you've got divergences playing out with individual Mag 7 stocks, holding the line, some of them breaking down. You've got a big question mark on how much better things are going to get now that US Iran is now that oil is down, and you've of course got lots of concern about inflation risk. You've got there's so many little themes going on that add complexity to the market that we're in. And we've seen more down this week overall, getting us into this very oversold state. Okay, the ES is trying again. The NQ is trying again. I am getting closer and closer to wanting to take a trade on the ES again, using the NQ as a guide. We bust up above 29,365. Now, why is my bias to the long side? We're deeply oversold. Okay, I'm much more interested in shorting if we fall off the edge of the cliff. All right, so I'm waiting right now, see if we get pushed up this go around, or is this yet again a lower high? So I'm going to bring my ES chart on the screen here for you again. And the reason I'm taking the ES trade is very straightforward, right? It is a little bit more controllable, or I could switch to micro on the NQ, which is not really my thing. This week, it does make sense though, but it's not really my thing. So no dice, we've come right up to it. Nope. When you're in a chop fest like this, it can become frustrating. So psychologically, just accept that, yep, we're in choppy waters. And we're deciding whether or not to navigate the boat back up towards the dock, or to keep our scuba gear on and submerge and go diving. I like that. Or be a bobber, Mark B says, yeah. And Joe, this is that environment to take a walk, right? Like the negotiation that's happening right now might be tipped by data at 10 a.m. That's the next event. We've just been in slop and chop from the open effectively to now. It's narrowing, okay? But it's still, even as it narrows, it's still a very wide range, right? The NQ still needs to get me up above 29,365, 375 in order to tell me that something to the long side is going to become more realistic. The NQ needs to come down below 29,180 and then 29,100 to really tell me it's falling off a cliff and down we can go. Okay, NQ is making another stand to try to coil up and rise. But if we look at, if we take a sober look at what this market is and what it's been doing, it should be, tremendously obvious that this is a time to just wait, right? We've got extreme oscillation in signals with, I think, a bias to the upside based on how oversold we are, right? The sell signals are, to a degree, you could describe them as exhausted, and I think that that's accurate. It doesn't mean we can't go lower, but we just need to fall off the cliff. So another way to put this, make the statement is we're out of bearish fuel, but it doesn't take fuel to fall off the edge of a cliff and drop hard, right? I need very little fuel to nudge you over the edge of the cliff, and then it can just roll over harshly. Right, so we can make use of the time because we've got so many folks here, and we're still waiting for a trade. Long, short, flat. I think that again can become a useful survey for the room. So feel free if you want to let us know which way you are thinking or how you're making decisions. Staying out, flat, F. Long side bias, L. Short side bias, S. So feel free to share in the chat. And for folks asking about where we can get up to, if we take out 375, we are headed up to, if we take out 375, we are headed up to potentially 500 to 600. Okay, I'm seeing some life in this at this stage. We're above 375, and I'm going to use the NQ to trade the ES on the long side. I've already missed my entry, but I'm going to try and catch it and see if I can squeeze anything out of it here. I don't want to get this big whipsaw back down. So below 96, I'll bug out. But I'm looking for follow through right now. The NASDAQ is still following through higher. We're at 420 right now on the NQ. My trade's in the money. I'm taking $162 of profit on that trade as the ES comes up to a round number. Now, for those who are trading the NQ or the MNQ, I want to make sure I have that on screen here for you. So here we go. So we broke the structure, right? We opened the door for up. You saw me take a long side trade. I was a little delayed in my entry, but I was still able to squeeze out three and a half points out of that trade. And to those wondering where the NQ is likely to go now, we're probably headed up to 520. So let me just bring up the multi-time frame view here so that I can get a sense of where the next structure of resistance is. Yeah, it's the bottom of the 1 hour charts MSR channel. And we've opened the door, taking out the high of the last hourly bar. So 520 would be the area that we're probably headed up to. We're at 440 at this moment in time. So we've had a break. Now, we've had a break to the upside. You've heard me talk you through, how this could potentially happen. But one of the things I want to make sure you also are aware of, we're coming into the end of the hour, and we've got data at 10 a.m. So from a trading standpoint, I don't like to be in positions, as data breaks, because data is an event risk. Even if you've got a bias towards, directionality, or you've done work on it, it's still a problematic moment. It's event risk. Now, I don't think the data is that big or that important. It's University of Michigan consumer sentiment, inflation expectations, and the world does, the machines pay attention to it, of course, but they're not configured to take it as seriously as jobs data or ISM data, that kind of thing. So right now, what you've heard from me from the start of the day, effectively, is you're in a deeply oversold market that's trying to get its bearings for whether or not an oversold bounce is going to occur, or we're in a market, or we fall off the edge of the cliff because we're in a market that has used up pretty much all of its bearish fuel. And there are gauges that we can use that I can teach in days to come that actually show us how much bullish or bearish fuel is available. So data is out in about 30 seconds. We'll get a sense of what that's saying. Okay, data should be out. Let's see now how the market responds to this. Again, my decision is going to be long on the ES. I'm taking one on right now. I just hit the button, so I just want to share that with you right off the bat. Let's get that on screen. So I've taken on the long. It is profit positive. The Nasdaq is pushing up towards 500. I want to keep some profit here if I can, and it wants to be a little whippy on me, but I'm keeping this, and I'm taking another $162 of profit on a entry long on the ES post the data, right? So we had the data break. We saw the Nasdaq get up and above a key level, right? So the Nasdaq did get up above that key level. And what was that key level for this little day tradable moment? It didn't come off the 1 minute chart, didn't come off the 5 minute chart. It came off the hourly chart, right? The first challenge area was 375. We got above it. Once we got above 375, a rise up to the next resistive structure would become the likely outcome. And you heard me call it out in advance. It happened. Now, sustaining in action above 525 would go a long way to saying we're going to probably take out the highs that were made over here. And that was in the wee hours of the morning. The highs are actually in the mid 500s, mid to upper 500s, but 525 opens the door for more, long side trades. And remember the work that we did yesterday, right? That was a roadmap for yesterday. It's still applicable today, except it's not a red line above, at the 550 area. Above the 550 area, it's about a long side trade that can take us, that could potentially traverse all of this. Now, I don't want to be too enthusiastic about up and away. We're still in a market that's signaled down on a daily 4-hour, 1-hour chart. The 5 minute and the 1 minute chart are transitioning right now, but we've seen this movie before. We've seen it all week, right? We've seen it just be choppy chop. So all I'm doing right now is pulling the chart back on a 5 minute chart time frame basis or bar basis. And look, we made our lows right over there. This was last night at around 11:35 p.m. Eastern time. We got up off those lows. Okay, we came back down almost to those lows. We did not match them. We did not go lower, and we're almost back up to the highs of the pre-market session. So theoretically, this could be a bottoming pattern. But look, we've seen that happen over here and fall off a cliff, right? So we need to be very, very cautious about just assuming that the down is done. How did folks do on the last couple of moves there? Let me know. Happy Friday, indeed, Mr. Ben. Did you come out alive? I was able to come out profit positive. You saw a couple of profit positive trades in the low triple digits, but it adds up. Okay, I'm still in observation mode now after a couple of profitable trades. Looking to build on it potentially. Happy to hear that, Michael P. Oh, happy to hear that from folks in the chat. I've got lots of responses coming in saying, yeah. Okay, so now comes the next matter at hand. Are we going to take out the top of this range and continue moving forward? What would the plan be? Above roughly 550, okay, above roughly 550, 29,550, the door opens for this entire range to be traversed. I'm not saying that it will be. Right, we're still going to be rising into falling resistance. And 525 is your first line to really understand that we're going to make this move to 550 or higher, and we're there now. So it's happening. So now, can the ES be taken long? Can the NQ be taken long? I would wait for some action above 550. Okay, but that would be the idea. And remember, we're still early in the morning. Finding the right pattern, the right setup that's right for the individual trader is the most important thing to do. So I am considering another long side entry on the ES above 17, and the NQ is a long above 550. For those who are trying the long above 550, just know that there's about 60 points of risk at any given millisecond, right? So it can just get smashed. There it is, right? So we just got up to 560 effectively, and we got pulled back down to 520 in milliseconds, right? So this is not an easy type environment unless you're willing to carry larger risk with you. So I was getting ready for a potential long on the ES at 17, and I think I might still take that. I will bring the screen over if I'm going to do so. I want to really see the NQ get its head well above 550. And again, working off of a plan that we built methodically yesterday. We're at 556 right now. We're at 74.20 on the ES. So I've missed my entry, but I can try to join it. For those who are taking it on the NQ, kudos to you. 29, 560, 566. ES pulsed up. It wants to continue going higher. I am going to try it on the ES, not the NQ for myself. And I'm looking for an entry opportunity. Effectively, I'm playing this range from 17 to 31. And I want to see if this test of the speed lines holds. I'll just make this full screen. So if it holds, we come back up above the high of the current bar. I could try to enter there. Or I could wait, obviously, for the high of the last close 1 minute bar. I think I'm going to take it above the high of the current bar. And we are below 550 on the NQ, so it's dissuading me from doing this. Yeah, I'm seeing some trouble now. Yeah, I'm waiting. Okay, 556, 550. It's, the NQ is negotiating this 550 area in epic form, but we are still grinding up. It's grinding up at a slower pace. We're at 560, 555 on the NQ, and I'm just not seeing this impulse to buy grow much faster. We're at 560, so I'm going to try the long now. I'm going to try the long on the ES right now. I got in. Okay, and I'm seeing some. There we go. There we go. And I'll take about $75 of profit on that trade. So taking pieces of the move on the way up. I've tried to methodically provide you the lines, levels, insights as to where the longs become viable. And I don't trust the nature of the market in general because we are grinding our way up through major negative energy that's been in play. But you heard it from the start of the day. Look, we're really oversold. Right? We even asked ourselves within ourselves, for everyone logged in that participated right out of the gates, folks came in and said to the sentiment survey that I asked, which was, hey, do you think that we're going to actually come down and break down below the 29,100 area and open up a lot more downside risk? And the result was very skewed. Okay, so a sentiment survey like that can be useful. That was an additional thing on top of the idea that we're in a very oversold market that's out of bearish fuel. That doesn't stop the idea of it rolling off the edge of a cliff. You don't need a lot of fuel for that. You just push the car over and down the cliff, off the cliff it goes. But in the oversold state that we're in, we were cognizant of, hey, where are the lines levels that we would need to get above for an oversold bounce to really be in force? and it is in force. And Kendall, I see a great comment there. Hey, I'm happy that the explanations on the tools were useful. And Tim P, I'm just reading through what you're saying. It can be a contract. You're right. ISM can be. You're right. So right now, and from a trading standpoint, how did folks do? Are you making out? I'm profit positive on the day, building and building and building. You see me take several profitable trades. Looking forward to building on that at this stage, and I want to see how folks, how folks are managing. I'm not in any trade right now because we're still hanging out in and around 29,550 without really electing to sustain above. Right, we've poked our hairs above. We've come up above the highs of the bar, the 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. bar. The hourly chart over here, obviously we've seen action above the highs that were made right over here. We're above that, and well, in that area right now. But the obvious is the obvious, right? We are rising into falling resistive structures. So we got the idea of an oversold bounce playing out for trades correct. I traded it, got into profit positive territory on it. I want to build on it, but more so than that, I want to understand, is the environment changing now? Is that all we had for an oversold bounce? Is that all it's going to give us? Hey, looks like folks did well on that. I'm happy to hear that. Mike R, that's amazing. Kudos to you and to everyone writing in. Nikhil, Siraj, Jerry, Jerry B, amazing. Okay, so we're still in the same mode right now. And what I'm curious about right now is, have folks kind of branched out, looking at other things. I'm keeping my focus on the ES, on the NQ. Gerald, it was a good trade, no? And I'm hopeful that you're doing well as well. So that's amazing. Let's go and narrow down the time frame again here, and just start getting back into the process. Okay, so what are we negotiating? Are we going to get out of this box, right? That's really what we're negotiating. Are we going to get out of this box? We're coming up into resistance of the prior box that broke. Are we going to be able to breach into it and continue up? The ES is giving me some good signs right now. The NQ's above 550, and I'm thinking of taking another long on the ES. I still don't trust the NQ move, as you can tell. So I'm going to wait to see if that 550 line holds. I'm watching that on another screen. We're at 575 right now, and this can be a growth bar. I'm trying to take it on. I got in a little late. It pushed up. It is profit positive. And let's see if the climb up wants to continue. Looking for that to continue. It's below my entry line by a point or so, or half a point. Now back above. It's getting a little whippy. I don't like that. We're at 590. We're almost at 600, but I'm not seeing my ES trade work out very well here. I'm off by a point now, a couple of points. And you can see that you have to carry a lot of risk in this type of market because the ranges are so much larger. Let's see if we get that push up right now. The NQ is trying to bust, 29,600, and it's doing a decent job of it. My trade's back to profit positivity. Let's see if I can get this thing slamming up, not down here. And it's taken a little longer than I like, and I would rather get out of the way if I'm not getting what I need. So if that bar goes red, I'm out. You know what? I'm going to take my profit while I have it, even if it's a tick, and I'm going to come back to the trade as needed. So we slowed down, so I got out of the way, fairly well. But we're in a move now where, look, we've had an oversold bounce, the oversold bounce carrying forward. We've taken out the highs that happened right in and around here. And this is a 5-minute chart of the NQ. The NQ is in control of the tape. We started off the day with an oversold status of the market after making lower lows. We assessed that oversold state is going to probably lead to an oversold bounce. We assessed where that bounce would have to get us up on the NQ to signal longs are going to be good. We had multiple levels: 350, 375, 450, and then 550. And we've seen the market come above all of them. Okay, and now the real question is are we going to carry forward rising from here? We're above the 550 line, which was yesterday's short below line, right? It becomes a long above line today. Now it's not a clean long. You're looking at a 4-hour chart right now, and the distance that could be traversed is from 550 up to 800, 850. And we've seen how fast these things can happen this week. But as you narrow the time frames down and you're looking at the structures of support and resistance, as you whittle as you look up in time or down in time, we've come up pretty much to the center of the MSR channel on that 1-hour chart, and it's acting as resistance. That is the 600. I know someone asked before, do you think we'll make it up to 600? And I said that would be the idea. Above 350, 375, that would be the idea. And it's happened now. Are we going to sustain, consolidate up here and go? Well, I'm going to take the time frame down again to that 5-minute chart, and we have to acknowledge that we were in a box and we're trying to break out of that box. So I'm just going to draw it in for posterity here. Not that it's extraordinarily relevant at this moment, but it can be useful, right? So effectively that would have been, that's the box, the little white box I put on the screen, and superimposed on the screen are the planned, decision-making lines from yesterday. We're holding above 550. We're trying to get above 600. 600 is resistance, and it is resistance off the hourly chart, right? It's the center of the MSR channel there. Above that 600 marker, which we're poking above right now, it opens the door for the ES to continue on up as well. And I've been more trading the ES because of how whippy and how large the amount of risk is on the NQ proper. MNQ could be taken, which it may decide to convert over to trading at some point this morning. Or I could just continue working it the way that I have been, which is use the tugboat action that the NQ is having on most things to trade other things, most things like the ES, for example. Now, I'm seeing gold and silver bounce. And by the way, at the beginning of the session, I did provide you that insight that this might be a day for day tradable longs on gold and silver. And I'm curious to know whether or not folks, tried any of that, because they did work very well. The question mark is, were you able to take advantage of any of it? And I can share what that looks like right now with you. Just give me a second here to flip that on your screen. Right, the number that I quoted on gold was 4062 for day tradable longs above it. And we are now at 4103. Okay, so the number that I quoted on gold for long was 4060, 4062. And we're well above it right now. And if we look at it on a 5-minute time frame basis, right, it's not quite a rocket ship, but it did take a very dramatic move back up. And just want to get that focused on the screen, right? So, this is where, we were discussing the potential for gold and silver to be tradable vehicles today as well. We did that in our pre-market briefing from 9:15 to 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. For those who are here, you heard that. The first couple of bars were down, and then we had a turnaround at right around here, which is the 9:40 a.m. Eastern time 5-minute bar. And it's just, train left the station, right? And up and away it's going. Is there more left here? Not sure just yet. Right? So, I'm not calling off the idea of gold continuing up, but we have to use the interplay between this oversold market that's trying to bounce, trying to gather itself and build a base to potentially move higher as the day moves forward. Can that be helpful to other risk assets like gold, like silver? So we called out silver long, and folks, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I said 58.80, perhaps 58.80 was the number that I quoted. Let's just go take a look at what that looks like. No, it's not the right chart. So we'll just look at it on the daily chart. And we're at 59.66. So silver is not necessarily dramatic. It's better. It's obviously worked. But I wanted to just circle back on that. And while we're here, I want to take a quick look-see at where oil is. I'm looking at the Q contract, which is August. Still down, almost below yesterday's lows, near the lows of the day, supportive to the market, moving up. And then we can just look at the just differential performance on the NQ and the ES on the daily charts right now and just get a sense of whether it's still the NQ leading. So the ES is down about 0.1% vis-a-vis yesterday's close, well off the lows. The NQ is currently still down a little bit more, 0.6%, well off of its lows. Neither nor have gotten above water lines that say all will be well, but we're making a push right now. So we're making a push right now to get to some of those water lines, and the ES just blasted off, and so did the NQ. For those lucky enough to be in positions, kudos to you. We're well above 600 right now, and the ES is trying to get above its hourly chart MSR channel. From 32 to 42 is a trading range on the ES. And on the NQ, above that box, right, above that box, which we are above, and we've effectively back tested it now, we're making a run for potentially 800. Okay, so 800, 820. There's maybe 200 points of potential upside over there. Now, we're a little overcooked on the very short-term charts, but we had a big push up. There should be some continuation here, and I'm going to potentially try an NQ trade finally. I want to also get the ES trade on as well. And I'm waiting to see which one of the two I'm more comfortable with yet again. Still more comfortable with the ES trade than I am with the NQ trade. Now, for those that can carry larger risk or have larger risk tolerance, I'm sure the NQ trade is doing great for you. Just be very careful with your stop or your trailing stop. It's a good idea to have very tight risk management in a market with such large ranges. So this is probably generated by some form of minor headline, right? We did go from 74.20 all the way up to about 17, 18 points. So is that a headline that's worthy of continued up? The dollar took another small leg down. Volatility is under control. It's meaning it's moving lower, VIX. Gold and silver continued to point up. This is probably a bull flag. And Tony M, that's a good point. Near yesterday's lows on the ES. So I didn't catch the burst on that 1 minute bar. I've traded profitably in front of you on the ES using the NQ as an indication. The NQ is above 29,550. It's opened up the range to potentially, up to 820, from 550 to 820. There are stops along the ride on the way up, right? It's not a smooth ride. We know that we're trying to claw, right? It's fighting tooth and nail to grab a hold of what it can, sustain it, and then get pushed up again in a very wide range market. Okay, so quick temperature check of the room. Is the insight, commentary, analytics, and the trading you've seen from me, has it been helpful in your decision making? Has it aided you in your decision making? You let me know with lucky number 7 in the chat, or a letter Y in the chat. If you want me to focus in a little differently or in another area, feel free to poke and prod at me in the chat and let me know. Okay, I'm seeing those number 7s fly by, so that's awesome. That's great. Back to the analytics on the NQ at this stage, because we're struggling around the 600 marker. It's not stopped. It's struggling though on the 600 marker. So let's just go back and look at what we were dealing with. We're dealing with chop and slop, chop and slop. We got the breakout. We found the lines that were important. 375. Remember, 375 was the line that we got above at 956. Then data came out at 10 a.m. And posted the data. We got pushed up, and we've had large ranges, but moves to the upside. And we're seeing these steps up and then pauses. Step up, slow down, really a pause at the end of the day. Step up, pauses, pull back, bigger step up. This is the one of the bigger steps up, akin to the 9:56 a.m. bar and the 10 a.m. Eastern time bar. So there is a trade potentially to be had right here. And I think that I'm still going to do it on the ES if I get a chance to do it. And I'm going to try. Now, the range on the ES that I'm trading would be between 34 and 43, 74.34 and 74.43. And we're nearing 34. We're at 31. The NQ is trying to push back up and tell us that it wants to take another step up. The NQ trade is effectively from 650, 660 up to 820. But there are stops along the ride. From 650 to 730 is the more discrete trading range on the NQ. On the long side, if it wants to open that up for us, so 660 to 730. And you can assess that fairly easily. Actually, my error, 700, not 730. So from 660, which is near the high of the current current bar, 1 hour bar, it's to come up to the top of the MSR channel. Now, I'd rather take it at a higher point to sell it at a higher point rather than try to buy it while it's pulling back, because we know we are in a market that is signaled still across all time frames to the downside, down to the 1 hour chart. It's signaled still to the downside, but we're getting an oversold bounce. So for me, what I'm going to do, and just to be very methodical about this with you, if I start to see the NQ gather itself again, stay above the top of the box, which is around 550, and it's able to, make another push up and get us close to, if not above 660, which is effectively where the high is. Let's zoom in a little bit over here so you can see that. Where the high is right there. If it's able to get up to there, it's headed up to 820. And I'm going to use that pulling, the NASDAQ pulling other things up to trade the ES long. And where I'm going to take the ES trade is going to be at 74.34, 74.34. Okay. We're at 610, 605 on the NQ. And the ES is already getting closer and closer to the line, but it's not there. So I'm not going to front run the trade setup. We've gone from a very oversold market, on almost all time frames into the open, to a very overbought market on very short-term metrics and short-term time frames. So if the market wants to sustain in an overbought state and get overboughter, it needs to prove to us that it deserves a trade. And in this case, I need to see the NQ pull us up. We're at 620 right now. It's doing its darndest to pull us up. And I'm going to probably wait for the NQ to take us above, to take the ES above 74.34 before I transact. And at the end of the day, it's about is the damage that's been done across some of the Mag 7 stocks, is some of that being repaired or not? And the answer is, if you look at it, on a day-over-day basis, no, it's not been repaired. So the nature of them, if you want to put a narrative or a flavor of a story, this is a story. This is a story of the comeback kid, the comeback kid's kid, trying to replicate the comeback, replicate his father's nature. It's not actually something yet that has happened. He has not come into his own yet. We're at we've submerged back down below 29,600. We're still above the 550 area on the NQ. I've not been able to take my next long on the ES, but we are still consolidating after a big push-up bar. And this, again, I'm looking at it on a 1 minute time frame basis. For those that like the multi-time frame, 5 minute chart is overcooked. And for those that are triple S students, what do we have? What do we have right there? Let me know in the chat. For the triple S students, what is that pattern? As high probability as that pattern is, yep, there you go, Emma. Perfect. You're the first one to respond. I'm seeing many other answers now come in. It's the pre-trade conditioning pattern. Minimum of 3 signals separated by no more than 6 bars, right? And then we were left with an up, double green dots, and we're above the actual channel. Up we can go. Now, it's still a hard environment to kind of Ronco it, set it and forget it. It's a very hard environment to do that. And the interplay between the ES and the NQ has to be examined very thoroughly, which is what I'm doing to try and get my next trade on. And if you look at the 1 minute chart from a pre-trade conditioning standpoint, it was there as well, right? It was there as well. It took a little while for us to get going, but it was 9:54 a.m. where we got the first bar with the double green dots above the MSR channel, right? Giving us, the patterns come to fruition. But let's just put that to the side for a second here, and let's get back to scrutinizing whether or not this market can go for another leg up. The NASDAQ is still struggling to get back up to the high of the current hourly bar. Hasn't done it yet. As you can tell, my hands are not on the keyboard or the mouse. I'm waiting. So just to do a service and make sure that I dot the I's, cross the T's for those who are trading the NQ. Okay. We were in a box. We broke out above the top of the box. We broke out above the top of the box at a key area, the 29,550 area. That's pretty much where the top of the box was. And we back tested it on the 10:15 a.m. 5 minute bar, 10:20 a.m. bar. We got to push up. So right now, what's happening? Well, we're trying to decide whether or not the top of the box is support. Logically, it is. Are we going to use it as a springboard and bounce higher and carry on up towards 29,820? Or is this just noise around the top of the box and is it going to roll over? I won't know it's noise until we're below 450. That's how wide the ranges are to actually have something statistically significant happen. So right now, no long side trade whatsoever. Waiting for the next potential push up from the NQ to trade the ES on the long side. ES is back down to 74.25. NQ is back down below the 550 marker. Is this thing falling apart now? Question mark and ... Rhetorical question, right? Let's see what happens here. I want to give the market the benefit of the doubt that the oversold bounce plays out. I want to give that benefit of the doubt there, which is what we did in the pre-market, right? We did our sentiment survey. We understood where we were down at. We understood what levels we'd have to come up above. And it did come to fruition. And there were some good long side trades along the ride, getting me into a nice profit positive state on the day. Now I want to build on that, but I don't want to take a trade, if we're seeing hesitation. Is the top of the box holding? Yeah, so far it's holding. So the white rectangle is the box, right? The other colorful lines were lines from yesterday, which are still very absolutely valid for today. Okay, we're trying to get back up. Okay, that's encouraging. And the ES is getting pulled up by it as well. So I'm starting to get closer to wanting to take on a long. I'm not going to do it on the NQ, but the NQ long could be as soon as 640. I like 660 better on the NQ for a trade up to 700 or slightly higher. So again, to be specific, the trade long on the NQ could start at 640 on the long side up to 700. I like it better above 660, 665 to 700 or higher. And I really need to see the interplay between the two majors here resolve to up in order to take the trade on. So speed lines are crossing over on a 1 minute chart. Fast speed lines getting above the slow, encouraging. Still need the price action above at least 640, 630 to say that this can actually work. And we don't have it. So no dice, right? And for the ES fans in the room, I'll take you back over there. No trade. Is it falling apart? We're back down to 550, 560 on the NQ. We've evaporated about half to slightly more than half the gains on the 10:20 a.m. 1 minute bar where we had that big push up. I don't yet have anything that's saying it's going to fall apart, right? The NQ is still holding in and around 550. So I don't see a great trade setup just yet. What I'm trying to kind of question in my mind right now is that, okay, is that it? Is that all we got? Are we going to pull back now? Do we have to pull back to and make lower lows? And Yvonne, yes, I do use the divergence tracker. Absolutely. I don't want to have the screen too busy, so I'm trying my best to have less as more at this moment. But I'm working off of a terminal that's got 6 screens. So I have multiple layouts on my screen. So I'm looking at things, left, right, and center. That's why you see my head bobbing around all the time. Okay, is it time for a short? We're below 550 on the NQ, below 520. We are probably going to try to make that move down to 450. I'd rather not take the short because we've had enough encouragement and improvement. Now, if you look at the, let's do it on the NQ because that'll be more clean. It is the market that's leading things. So you look at the hourly bars on the NQ. We have a bullish reversal bar. That was the 9 a.m. bar. And we have follow through to the upside. That follow through to the upside has gotten caught in a hornet's nest of resistance known as the MSR channel that's falling. Right. So is this a kill zone, folks? Falling resistance on top of price, rising support below? The answer is yes. It's fairly easy to see that. I'm just gonna freehand it in. You've got these nasty jaws on top of price coming down on top of price, and then you've got these nasty jaws underneath price. All right, so apologies for my very poor drawing, but you get the idea, right? It's clamping down on price, and that's where whipsaws can happen. That's where things can get really unruly. So it's not a surprise to me that it's having a challenge. Right? That's this stage par for the course. So back down to smaller time frames, but I hope you get the picture, right? We weren't able to sustain above 550. In order to confirm that this thing is going to attempt to fall apart again and come back down towards lows of the session, the waterline is 450. Below that waterline, there is still support at around 400. There's still some support at around 400, but it's kind of the kiss of death below 450. We're probably going to see things, start to come unglued. We're not there yet. Right? We've poked above the top of the box. We've tried to build a base above the top. It has not been successful. The trading has been successful because we've been cautious. I've been very cautious about it with such wide ranges, and explosive moves that intrabar pull back, even if they are to continue. And Adam, you can just type that in on Wealth Charts, right? You can right click on the screen, just go to add indicators, and you can literally just type in MSR and search for it and get it done and have it added to the screen. So just right click on the screen and simply type in MSR into the, click on the add indicator button in your, in that drop down that pops up, and then off you go. Okay, we're at 490 right now. The market is weakened in an orderly manner. The 1 minute chart seemingly is coming into a sell signal state. And the question mark that we've got right now is this now good enough to say down, down it goes? 450 is the number. We're coming down towards it right now. Those that are in the short mindset, you know, getting closer and closer to that, that trigger. And I've abstained from trading this move because I don't trust it just as of yet. Now, I was starting to build more confidence and the probabilities were starting to grow as we got above the top of this rectangle. And we were trying to build a base like a bull flag, for example, or some consolidation to go higher. But that failed. And now we're down right to the 450 area. And if it breaches 450, there's not too much argument there, right? We are probably going to come down at least towards 350 with a stop around 400. 400 would be support from the hourly chart speed lines. The slow speed lines at 390. If this is simply a test of 450 and it wants to start going back again, you know, that would be ideal. That would be ideal, but it's not necessarily what will happen. So for everyone listening in right now, I am waiting for my next trade. What I've been doing for the majority of the morning has been using the insight of the oversold market, the sentiment survey, the fact that we've crawled above levels to open the door for you know, long side trades, to take on longs, not on the NQ. I've done it on the ES. I've used the NQ as my tugboat or my leading indicator to try and take on trades on the ES, which have been successful. And we're starting to see that move right now get back on track. I am seeing enough enthusiasm right now. We're back up to the 550 area. Okay, we're perforating it. So that's encouraging. Very encouraging for further long side trades. And that's exactly right. Who wrote that in the chat? Joe N. Spot on, my friend. This could be the resumption, right? So I'm still going to utilize the NQ as the indication to take on a trade on the ES. I'm going to look on another screen as to whether or not I can see it hold above 550. I'm going to pull my chart of the ES on a 1 minute time frame basis up on the screen here for you. At least I'm going to try. It looks like it's having some struggles here. So I'm just making sure I get it on properly. I'm just doing that off screen. Bear with me for a second. I'll do that right now. Okay, that looks good. And the trade's not gone live yet, so waiting. I want to see this chart sustain back above 550 and give me a reason to believe that there's a proper resumption afoot. No dice yet. Not ready for that yet. And always keep in mind the bigger time frame picture here, which can really let's clean up the chart a little bit here. Let me see if I can toggle off some of the drawings right there. Okay, so the indications are on screen. Bullish speed line cross, but we're still in a sell signal state. Champion cross is red. Champion trend zone trail line is still up there. But what we're trading is an environment to try and evacuate the sell signal state, right? We've got a low, we've got a low, we've got another low. 3 lows. We're trying to, we've gotten above a little bounce off of the secondary low. We've gotten above that high. We're trying to get back above it. It's roughly in the 550 area. We get back above it, we're back in the game to try and traverse up to the top of the hourly chart channel, which is around 700. And it's too dangerous an environment to just set and forget alongside trade. You know, it would, based on the ranges, it would get stopped out very quickly. And based on the location right now, I would not want to do it. Above 550, yeah. The NQ long could become something to do above 550. It could promote a long on the ES, and we should always consider the opposite side, right? The opposite side over here is, what if this whole thing just falls apart? 450 is our marker. So we've got our plan set, right? We don't have to be sitting here with angst. We need to wait for the price to bring the trade out. And hey, that happens, Sultan, right? Just the finding a sweet. Okay, so two comments, two golden nugget type comments. Wide range trade days, change the product or the security that you're trading, change the size, tighten the leash. Okay, I guess that's the obvious, right? Wide range days come with more noise around price structures. So if you got a technical, signal, or even just a basic box on the screen, like we have on the screen right now, right? We got a box on the screen. We need to be above it by a degree that is sufficient to say it's the train's left the station, it's going. And we were in that spot, but it lasted very brief. And I was waiting for it to hold, get above the 660 area, 640 area, and it wasn't able to get back up there, right? It tagged it again on the 10:25 a.m. 5-minute bar and then just unraveled. So right now it's trying to gather its bearings again. It's trying to hold my 450-ish line that you saw me draw in. And I used the technical package and tools to derive this, right? I did that yesterday for you, and it's just being reinforced today that these tools work really well. The decision has to be also suitable to the trader. So my decisions have been, I want to take on long side trades on the ES using the NQ as my guide. And even now, we're trying to get a swing low pattern in, big down bar, indecision bar. The next green bar needs to close at least halfway above the down bar in a 3 candlestick swing low pattern. So, which is virtually in the 550 area. So I'm going to still use 550. So I'm going to, again, change your view briefly here. I'm going to look at the NQ on another screen. I want to see if it can get above 550. If it can, it's still acting as the tugboat. It's still acting as the lead to the ES. So if it tugs the ES higher by way of it getting above 550, I can then take on a long side trade on the ES. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm watching the NQ on another screen. It's not above 550 yet. It's struggling its way up towards it. It's starting to make a bigger stand. It's starting to take a stand and say it wants to get there, but it's still not above it. So especially for those who are newer, the way to manage here is to avoid seeing what's not there and seeing what you're thinking. We need to see exactly what we need here. And I understand exactly what happened, Sultan, on that then, right? Because it is the wider range, right? It's so choppy. So I've literally decisively said, look, I'm not comfortable trading the NQ. There could be great reward, but there's great risk, right? Okay, I'm at 545 on the NQ. 550. Okay, we got to push up. Let's see if I get a little pullback that allows me to get in, and I'm in. Okay, I'm holding 550 on the NQ. I've taken on a long on the ES. I got in at 525. 74.25. It is profit positive. I want to see if I can get something more out of this than just a point. There we go. Let's see if we get a little bit more. But I want to be very careful with the risk management on this. It's profit positive. Let's see if we get a couple hundy out of this. It's a 1 contract trade on the ES. You know what? It's taking way too long, and the NQ is pushing, so this should go. So if for those of you looking at the NQ, I'm taking my profit here, by the way, okay? So I'm seeing the NQ above 550. It's at 560. But I'm not seeing it just accelerate. So it's still gathering its bearings. So I'd rather lock in and get on the next leg if NQ follows through, because I've seen this movie before. We've seen it together this morning, right? And Here it is. It's the same movie, right? We got above 550, we pulled right back. If I was still holding the ES, I wouldn't have made 60, $75 or so. I would have lost 200. Right? But it is back testing support, and it's trying to gather its bearings to go. Let me know if anyone kind of followed along and took that as well. And Anthony, and the answer to the question on the tick tool, which I have not brought up on screen. I want to add a little less noise into the number of things that we bring up on screen. But the tick tool is telling me that the ES actually is full of bullish fuel and out of bearish fuel. Which is a similar insight on the NQ, right? That's why when I started off the day, I was like, we're out of bearish fuel, but we can still fall off a cliff. If an oversold bounce wants to happen, this, that, and the other needs to happen in order to convince me to trade long. It happened. Traded long, profitable. I'm not up huge, but I am up $375. So almost 400. Okay, here we go again. This is now the NQ trying to poke above. I'm going to take it down to a 1-minute time frame. Okay, I don't have the drawings on the screen, and you can see there's resistance right there at around 600, just under 600, but it's trying to make the move up towards it, and it's going to give me the opportunity to potentially trade long the ES again. And at this late stage of the morning, because the way that I'm structuring the morning right now is 9:15 to 9:30. We do a little intelligence briefing, little pre-market briefing, read the market, understand what the nature of the market is, which I hope I gave you some good thinking on. And then we go into live market operations, live trading from about 9:30 to 11 a.m. Eastern time. And then from 11 a.m. to 11:30, I want to understand, I want to make sure that we all understand what the lessons where the market taught us, do a trade review, and get any questions that you may have answered. So I'm not going to take big risk into the end of my trading time that I've scheduled with you. I'm already up just shy of $400. I'm going to take that and go, okay. And it was done across multiple trades in a high risk day. And there's always going to be folks that have done way better, and there's always going to be folks that have done way worse. I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about, am I taking decisions that I'm comfortable with my acumen, my risk tolerance? And that's why you saw me make that shift, right? I use the NQ as an indicator to trade the ES rather than trade it itself. And it worked out very well. Now, as we come into the end of the trading time this morning, hey, thanks, Tanisha. I appreciate that. As we come into the end of the trading time that I schedule in the morning, what I want to understand is how have folks been able to make out, on the morning? Were you able to, number one, stay alive, and were you able to come out with any earn while you learn? And Tony M, I see a question. EU close, what's the likely outcome? It's so mixed right now, right? It's very difficult to use the predictable tools that I bring in to provide some insight into the end of the hour. The logical outcome would be a rush up into the end of the hour, right? And exactly, I could switch to the MNQ instead of the NQ, which I might do if this kind of wide range market remains in place for next week, right? I know folks like seeing the NQ being traded. But it comes with so much risk. And Lee, that's amazing. You're able to do the same sort of thing that I did, but you did it with the MNQ. Amazing. Chandra, amazing. That's all music to my ears. Now, the best way to walk away from a day where you start off real choppy, right? We started off real choppy. No trade in the chop. We diagnosed specifically coming into the day that, hey, we're in a kill zone on the daily chart, right? We're in a kill zone, falling resistance on top, rising support below. It can be very whippy, and we already know it's a wider range day. We assessed the things that the market was kind of, that the market is attached to and tugged around by, which is rates, currencies, commodities certain times, and then we assessed the intermarket behavior. We understood that the Nasdaq was still the lead market, bullying around the ES, and we set our plan. And it's the same. It was really the same plan from yesterday, which was drawn out where I said it's a short below 550, confirm that short below 450 if we're going to make a big leg lower. We did that. Okay, that happened. We didn't quite get all the way down to 29,100. And we assessed today that, look, if the market is this oversold, it's not got as much it's got very little bearish fuel left, but it doesn't take a lot to fall off the edge of a cliff. And then I did a sentiment survey in the first 15 minutes of our time together, where the question was very blunt. Do you think we're going to come down below 29,100 and have an unravel day? And sentiment surveys are the best when you have a skewed response. If you have a balanced response, I want to take that response as is. But we had a skewed response, 90-10 leaning to, yeah, we're probably going to break 29,100 and roll over, which then I responded immediately to. And I said to you, we should consider that because we're gauging ourselves and we're all skewed. We're all very bearish in sentiment. Usually the opposite happens when that takes place. Now, the opposite did happen, but it's not the end of the day yet. All right, we still have more time left here, and it could very easily turn into a rollover. And next week we're going to have to deal with first half end, at the beginning of next week. And absolutely, Marzena, I can absolutely analyze SpaceX, and I can do analytics on individual symbols as we move into the next hour. I just want to make sure that I tie a good knot or bow on how we approach the morning. So right now, I'm just giving you a little preamble for that. As far as trades go, I've ceased my trading right now. I'm waiting for some clarity on whether or not we hold effectively, in this zone, 550 to 450, and then if we get back above the top of the box at 550, okay, we're going to start a move that can potentially take us up to. Doesn't have to, but it could take us up to, it could take us through 820. And 820 is still a volume profile node that's very important. So I'll definitely look at SpaceX for you in the next 30 minutes when we do our Q&A. And Yvonne, that's an interesting insight. Quantitatively, we'd have to assess it, but the nature of the market in this format is not necessarily going to stay this way the entire time, right? This is a volatile time that has, we've had extraordinarily wide ranges, very choppy markets, directional moves that leave people in disbelief, and it's a challenging market. All right. So what I think we're going to do right now, folks, is we're going to take a little break for not very long, about a handful of minutes or so. And we'll come back and move into the next segment of our time together. So let's call the break to about 11:03 a.m. Eastern time. And then we'll come back and continue on with our conversation here. So for folks listening in, we're moving into the third segment of our 3-segment morning, where we do the pre-market read, then we do live operations, and then we do a trade review and Q&A. So hang tight. We'll be back at 11. I'll be back at 11:03 a.m. Eastern time. We'll move into a little more analytics on individual positions. We'll do a review of what the morning had for us and answer your questions as they come in. So hang tight, folks. Back here with you very shortly. answering your questions, of course. So let's get right into what happened this market morning. We started off the market day with an understanding that we're in a deeply oversold market that has come down below lows, right? Has come down below lows. Let me just make sure everything's good. All right. So we came down below lows from the week, made new lows on the NQ. The NQ was in charge of direction. And we understood that we were in such an oversold state where it's a market where we spent 5 days going down, 4 or 5 days going down. Even with the rallies back up, we've closed below levels that have implied that downside risk is still here. And the level on the NQ by and large was around the 29,800, 820-ish area. And we've seen that insight ring true for the week. Now, the technical signals that we are looking at on screen right now are comprised of the Champion Trend Pack Toolkit. The Triple S Toolkit is on screen as well. And effectively what you're looking at is a market that has falling resistive structures, the speed lines, the blue and the magenta, the cyan and the magenta, which are the fast and the slow speed line respectively. And we're looking at a daily chart. So that's falling on top of price. And we've got rising support underneath price of the channel. Now, we use the values of the channel to help us with decision-making throughout the week. On the daily chart, we set the tone with that. And in today's market, we recognize that we were in, we moved into, the short side plan in the overnight session. So somewhere in and around the 10 p.m. 4-hour bar, we broke below that 29,450 marker, and we saw the market, make its lows for the session during that time frame. So effectively coming down very close to our target line of 29,100. We tried to get pushed up during the Eurozone session. It got whack-a-mole back down. And then as we came together this market morning, I'll break it down to 1-hour bars right now. Let me get the drawings on the screen so we can kind of bring that stream of logic through. As we came together this market morning, we recognized that the market's in a troublesome spot. It could very easily fall over. I asked the question, and it was a sentiment survey driven question, which is, do you think that we are likely to come down and break below 29,100 and see this market unravel? And where could it unravel to? 29,100, bottom of the daily chart MSR channel. It could unravel all the way down here into the mid 28,000s, 28,400, 500 area. And when I posed the question, I too was of the opinion that, yeah, that's a more likely outcome. That's the logical outcome. That's the signaled outcome. But the benefit of having a great group of traders around us is we ask the question, and if we're biased to that side because of rational, logical choices, but everyone's on that one side of the canoe tips over on that survey, right? So it was a 90-10 split roughly. When I asked that question, do you think we're going to roll over below 29,100 and start to see a bigger unravel? And usually when we're all skewed on one side of the response, usually something else happens. It doesn't have to be the opposite, right? It's clearly not the opposite. We have not gone straight up, but we did have a downside risk play out, upside risk play out in an oversold market. So we were prepared for that. The way we prepared for that was having consistent, clear levels in play, right? Consistent, clear levels, and then the technical indications to help with that. So we started off with the idea on a 1-hour chart. We are seeing resistance in and around the 375, 350 area. We then had our 450 line, and then we had our 550 line. There were some lines in between along the ride as we were working the move. And, we saw that primarily by looking at 5-minute charts. And, we had the top of the champion trend sell zone trail at the 375 area. And that was the number that had to break to tell us that we're probably going to be in an oversold bounce. It broke. We got an oversold bounce. It got us to the point where we could actually see it follow through. And I was very hesitant to want to take on long side trades on the NQ, even when we were at the cusp of it reaching escape velocity and going. I was using the NQ to trade the ES, right? And I'm glad I did it that way. We got up to 100, 50, 60 points, 70 points, actually, no, almost 100 points, 110 points, actually, 115 points above our 550 line, right? And it just was not able to sustain. But it was quite encouraging on the 10:20 a.m. bar that we could see a little bit more happen here. And then we started to see this compression on the speed lines, indecision present, and we've waxed and waned back down on a 5-minute chart, which projects out 20 and 90 minutes. We waxed and waned down into rising support of the 5-minute chart's MSR channel. We still got the falling speed lines above us. So we're in a kill zone on a daily chart. Okay. We're in a kill zone on a daily chart. We're in a kill zone on a 5-minute chart. So in order to get great trades, we need to get out of the kill zone. And in this particular case, I would want to see, price action get above that 550 marker at a bare minimum to tell us we're back in the running for this oversold bounce, or we'd want to see it really submerge back down below 450 and continue working the same plan from yesterday. Okay, above 550, it's not likely going to be a smooth ride. Okay, it's not likely going to be a smooth ride. We're probably going to, struggle on the way up and have fits and starts. Now, I'm not going to ask a survey question here, but I'm just going to simply give you my opinion. I think that we're leaning to the oversold bounce continuing as we move through the morning, and potentially one that can take us up, towards 29,800, 820. Okay. I want to trade on the long side only when I see the NASDAQ securely above 29,550. And I'm very amenable to going back to playing the short side plan below 450, right? Below 450, we've got the bottom of the box. We've got the lows. We've got the 29,100 area. There's a lot of falling off the cliff that could happen in the case that we breach that 450 area. So as of right now, we're still trying to get back up off the mat and carry on, right? If you're thinking about this as a boxer getting up off the mat after being knocked down, the boxer, he or she's on their knees. They're not standing up yet, right? We get above 550, boxer standing up, right? Doesn't mean he or she is going to be able to win the fight or win that round, but they'd be on their feet. Right now, they're not on their feet, they're on their knees. So above 550, we've got more game to the upside. Below 450, we're in a situation where the boxer might lose the match on a TKO. So at this stage, I've got a bias, if you will. You want to call it a bias, sure, for the oversold bounce to try and continue, but to trade it, I need to see securely NASDAQ E-minis above 550. For the short side of the trade, below 450, below the slow speed line on the hourly chart, which is sitting at 420, shorts should open up, and we should have faster action to the downside, because it's not as if we've got a bunch of bearish fuel. We've got very little bearish fuel left, and that doesn't prevent us from falling off the edge of a cliff, which you've probably heard me say several times during the session. And we're actually at 460, 470 right now. So, that downside risk could resume, and that can become problematic. So folks, watch your back. I hope the levels there are fairly clear. I want to do the same sort of thing on the ES. Now, I again will say to you, I think that we're in a market where the oversold bounce has a chance to breathe and live. Right now, it's not looking great for it. We're coming down below 450. And we could see an unravel start below 420 in particular. That's the last big support structure. It's that magenta line on the hourly chart. Let's take it down to a 5-minute chart here. And you'll see that all the way down to 320, there's support. But the concentrated support kind of ends in the lower 400s here, right? The channel ends in the lower 400s, and down the hatch it can go. So I'm not averse to trading short there. I'm not going to be trading right now. I'm in the debrief part of the morning session, but below the 410-ish marker, 400-ish marker, it can get a lot worse. And back down we can go to where we started off the day or lower. Right? And I don't think that that's going to be the case, but I'm not seeing any proof that says it won't be just yet. I would like to see that 550 line taken out again. I'd like to see the price action sustain above there. Boxers back up on their feet, and then up we can fight and struggle bust our way up towards 800. Now, for the same sort of thing on the ES, do the same sort of thing here for you on the ES. Let's go right there. There we go. So on the ES, let me just bring it to a daily chart first. See, on the ES, you're seeing price action about middle, just below the center of the MSR channel on the ES. The center of the channel is at roughly 74.30. We're at 74.15. The bottom of the channel is sitting at 73.78, which we've been below. And if you're a student of Rob's and you've been following Rob for a while, you'll know that a directional shift that can stick around for days, a week, more, really is in play if we have two daily bars close below the bottom of the MSR channel. Note that that didn't happen here in the earlier part of June, right? We had a dip below, close back up above on the 9th. We closed below for 1 day on the 10th and then ripped right back up, right? So at this stage, I'm looking at a chart right now where I would still need two closes to know that this whole thing is going to become much more nastier. Any action on the ES that gets me above 74.32, I would want to consider as, you know, I don't want to be optimistic or pessimistic, just realistic. Above 32, we're probably going to see a rise back up to the highs of the day. And that's the side of the equation that I think is likelier to play out based on how oversold we are. But we've got these well-aligned sell signals. So just like on the NQ, right now we're sitting at what, 430 on the NQ, 427, and it's starting to lose its footing even further. So I would not be averse to trading small shorts on the way down while the NQ is trying to bust down below its 5-minute chart channel, get down below 400. I would not be averse to it. Just keep your head on a swivel, because this is also the area where we can potentially have a turnaround, pretty much exactly where we are, give or take 10, 15 points on the NQ on either side. This is the area, and the NQ is still bullying the ES around. So my view on the day is that an oversold bounce attempts to stay in place and carries forward, but I'm not going to fight it if we end up seeing the NQ drag the ES lower. And if the ES is going to come down, where's the better shorting? Ultimately, it is below, on the hourly chart, below the slow speed line, which is below the bottom of the channel. So 7,400 happens to be the number. Okay. Gus, I'm happy to hear that, and I will definitely read your previous message. You as well, my friend. So I'm hopeful that things have gone well for you. Amazing, good. Okay, so right now I want to just move into formalizing my outlook. I think that the oversold bounce can take us back up. I think that it can take us back up towards 29,800 on the NQ. I think that it can take us back up on the ES to potentially the mid 7400s, just under the 7470 marker. I think that that's still a better than fair chance based on how oversold we are and the lack of falling off a cliff behavior. We haven't seen enough of that today. So that's the side that I'm leaning on. But if I want to trade short, you've got my insight, right? Below 400, 7,400, cleaner shorts on the ES. Below 29,400, cleaner shorts on the NQ. And you should look at the charts right now on both ends, right? You heard me say about, 2 minutes ago, this is exactly the area, give or take 10, 15 points on the NQ that we are probably going to bounce. And we have. There it is. All right, we came right down to the bottom of the channel. Powerful tools to help us with the decision making there. We're going to revisit that. And I'm going to, based on the fact that we don't have too many days, looking at it on a daily chart is going to be more problematic. So I know, Marzena, you requested analytics on this. Just want to make sure you're here, dear. Let me know. And I'm just getting the chart organized on another screen. And then I'm going to be pulling it back up. Okay, you're here. Perfect. So how many folks are involved in SpaceX at this stage? I'm curious, just on myself, for myself. I'm personally not involved with it. but I know that there's probably many folks that are involved in it. And I want to just do my darndest here to provide you with as accurate insight as possible. So I'm just getting the chart organized on another screen. I'll get it there in just a moment, and off we'll go to the races. So we used a couple of different ways to attack directionality. We used Fibonacci retracements, we used pivot levels, and most recently we've used a linear regression channel, which I think will be what we will use right now. That's amazing, John. I'm happy to hear that. And to the folks writing in, it's amazing. Lots of folks are involved in it, which is amazing. Let's go and take a look at SpaceX now. So what you're looking at right now is a 5-minute chart with a couple of things going on it. And I just need to update a few of the things here, inclusive of a volume profile histogram. Okay, isn't that interesting? Okay, I'm going to just pull the chart back. You can see where it was listed around 11:45 a.m. Back over here. And we had a great insight on, hey, we did Fibonacci retracements and extensions, and it delivered and then some, and then we got a cap up, and it marked a high, and it has been moving down ever since. But is it turning the corner? So two things that I can bring out right away. Okay, two things that I can bring out right away. If you take a look at that red line over here, what is that red line? It is the number on price, which you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, about 152 bucks and change. It is the number where the majority of the shares that have exchanged hands, it is that majority line. It's also known as the volume point of control. So the majority has exchanged hands right there, which means a lot of shares have been exchanging hands, since the 23rd. Onwards to drag that number down. That number was at a higher point earlier. So insight number one, okay, less danger to the downside while we're above 152.40. Okay, so that's insight number one. Insight number two, we are coming up to the top of a 2 standard deviation linear regression channel, where the center line of this channel, it's just a drawing tool that I put on. The center line of the channel is effectively the best fit line. And then you've got on top and below an envelope, which is a statistical envelope. So 2 standard deviations above the best fit line and below. Now we're at the point where we're trying to perforate it, and we're holding above the volume point of control. Typically what happens at the top of these channels, especially when they're trending down, is we are going to come back down and come back and revert to the mean, because we're far away from normal. But in this case, I think that there's a little bit of a different situation going on right now, a little bit of a different situation. So the situation that I think that we're in right now is a bottoming process. Okay, so I'm actually going to remove the channel because I don't want to create a bias there. And I'm going to extend the downtrend formation, which is broken. Okay, so if there's a directional bias, the bias should be, we were in a very clean, discrete downtrend formation. We've moved into a basing process, which is one of two outcomes. Go sideways, consolidate for bearish continuation lower, or put in a base. After a late stage downtrend, these types of formations usually end up being a basing formation. Now, can we consider this late stage downtrend? Yeah, absolutely we can. We've trended down longer than the trend up since the life of this issue. So I would say that this is more likely a basing formation. So the next insight that I'm going to bring on tap, the most concrete insight is above 152.40. We're probably not going to see lower lows. Okay. Now, where does it need to get up and above to say that it's likelier to rise and continue going up and away? Okay. So again, look at volume profile. Look at the volume profile structure sitting right here that we're headed up to 155.40. And there's another one right over here at around 158.25. It is this one that matters. So to those that are trading this issue around without adding other technical tools, just looking at the market structure, right? Just looking at what the pattern is, I would have to say two things to finalize the insight. While we remain above 152.40, better chance that we get up to 158.25. Above 158.25, it's got a much better than fair chance to rise at a faster rate. The destination first above 158 and a quarter would likely be 165 and a quarter volume profile node. Okay, so that's probably as far as I'd want to take it. And the obvious is the obvious. Below 152.40, watch your backs, right? I don't want to speculate as to where we would go, but the idea of it coming back down to test lows would be a high probability. So there you have it. And Ruth Ann is, that's a great comment. Elon's bond debt situation creating some drag right now. There's so many factors that come in. That sounds very reasonable to me. I'm more macro and technical, so I'm not going to get into all of the detail on it. But Mahesh, I'm happy that it helped as well. So that's great. And there you go. And Mark B, it looks like you're still here. So I hope that you learned a little bit about the volume profile node. In this case, the node is also the volume point of control, where the most number of shares have exchanged hands since listing, right? And then you saw how I used the different gray bars sticking out, all stemming from listing date, right? I've got the histogram applied from the listing date. So there it is. And node is literally, it's sticking out, right? That sore thumb sticking out. The most convex part of the distribution of that histogram. Those would be considered nodes. And on wealth charts in the on-demand video library, there's a great video there in the wealth charts weekly intensives module on using volume profile to trade. So you can go search for that in the on-demand section, which will give you even more insight. So folks, we are near the end of our time, and lo and behold, about a dozen or maybe even 24 minutes ago, what did you hear from me? You heard that I think that we're in a market that is going to try to carry out the oversold bounce. We get back above 550, the boxer standing up, okay, not knocked out, and we have the potential to grind, rise, and potentially make it all the way up to the 800-ish area. What are you seeing the market do? We're here. And I didn't ask that as a survey question. I just gave you my blanket opinion on the likely outcome, and here we are, folks. I really hope that this market morning was good for you. I ended up profit positive, just under $400. Using the Nasdaq's moves to trade the ES, and you saw those profitable trades along the ride. And I'm looking forward to doing this again with you day in and day out. This morning session is going to be brought to a close in a moment or so. Hey, John Paul, I hope you heard the insights on gold and silver there as well, my friend. There was some trading to be had there, but I don't know if we're in a swing spot yet, right? I don't know that just as of yet. But silver and gold are giving us those reversals that look very, very encouraging. Okay, they look very encouraging. The dollar got extraordinarily strong, right? The reversal on gold from even 40.60 to 4,100 and change, 4,105 was a good little day trade. But I still don't know. Glad to hear that, my friend. That's good. That's great. All right, so folks, my outlook, I've presented it several times. I'll end with the outlook. Hey, I think that the S&P E-minis are likely headed up towards 74.70. I think the NASDAQ E-minis likely headed up to 29,800. We're trying to overturn sell signals that we're in. Trading to the long side is very difficult because of the wide ranges, and we're struggling our way up through resistive structures that are falling on price. So take great care. Perhaps change the security being traded. Now, I can't tell you what to do, but you saw what I did. I didn't trade the NASDAQ. I used the NASDAQ to trade the ES because I had a little more control over how whippy the ranges were. I was able to walk out with a profit positive result. So this is me signing off from this session, folks. I hope you had a great time with me yet again. Let me know with lucky number 7 in the chat if you got something out of this morning that was beneficial to you. And each day that we interact, the more questions I get, the more lessons we throw down, the more trading that we do, the more I get to know you, the more I'm able to refine the way that I communicate with you and teach and trade as well alongside. Those lucky number 7s are going right through the chat, so I'm happy to hear that. That's amazing. And I wish everyone a wonderful rest of your trading day, and look forward to doing more with you each day that we're together. This is me signing off, wishing you all the best for the rest of the day. Bye for now, everyone.